take your seats. Guys, there is one seat over here, 2 seats over there. You need to spread out. Hello? There's one seat over here. You can come over here, and there's one seat over there. Over here in the front, welcome. Front row. Feel lucky. Okay. Guys. Hello. Welcome. Wow, so many of you. It's, I think, the 8th or maybe the 9th edition of Speaker's Corner. I'm not really sure. But I'm happy to have you all here. I'm glad that you've all come. I believe that all the speakers will give their absolute best today and that you will have fun listening to them. Maybe you will learn something quite valuable, I don't know. And I hope that the music is going to entertain you as well. Have fun, okay? And very important, during the break, please do not leave the auditorium. There's going to be some music break for you. I would like you to stay tuned, okay? Have fun.
Good morning to all of you. We hope you are having a good day and the week has been nothing more but a huge success to you all. Today your hosts are going to be Ada Kobreń
and Hanna Miranowicz
from Class 2C. We are pleased to welcome all of our amazing teachers and bright students of the one and only 5th High School in Gdańsk to the 8th edition of Speaker's Corner, an annual event held in our school ever since 2016. Speaker's Corner is originally a place in Hyde Park in London, which welcomes all people eager to speak their mind.
However, our Speaker's Corner is all about showcasing your abilities to the audience and feeling only slightly uneasy in front of people. It also needs viewer participation, so your job is to listen carefully, and after the last speech, we'll ask you which one was your favorite. You have been given small brochures with the names of the speakers and topics of the presentations, and they all sound pretty exciting.
So fasten your seatbelts and put your cell phones on silent mode, and put them safely into your bags to fully enjoy wonderful speeches coming from our amazing performers.
Now, let's give a round of applause to our incredible squad of jury. Miss Małgorzata Bąk, our one and only head teacher, she makes sure everyone feels at home here. Miss Lucyna Gronert, a former English teacher at our school, who also gave a speech at Speaker's Corner event in 2018. And talked about all the valuable things she has learned from her students. Miss Soma Skiazimova, also a former English teacher. A true legend who has made a mark in many of our students' hearts. Miss Marzena Maj. Our English teacher with a big heart and even bigger patience. And lastly, Rafał Olczyk. Our dear friend from Class 2C, a true fan of the English language.
Let's begin with a particularly special teacher guest. Mr. Krzysztof Kłonikowski was actually our first ever speaker on the stage in 2016. He's an extremely passionate teacher interested especially in the humanistic issues. But today, he's going to introduce us to a more scientific part of his nature and talk about how to hack your brain. Seems pretty mysterious, but I'm sure Mr. Kłonikowski is going to make it clear for us.
Thank you. I have an honor of being the first speaker on this amazing event. Uh, I was the first one that many years ago. This means I am quite old already. But I'm really glad that in the time of social media and emoticons, this great tradition of personal speech, and may I say, the Festival of Word is still alive in our school. So long live Mrs. Tusk. Now, to the subject. So, how to break the vicious circle of bad habits. Most of people's activity comes from a habit. This means an action that is repeating so many times consistently that our brain creates a steady neuronal path, and from this point onward we can do such things on a kind of autopilot. So without consciously thinking about what are we doing. So now there is a difference between a deliberate action and a habit, but at the end they can possibly interchange, and so the deliberate action can be exchanged by a habit. Some of our students are smoking behind this building on each longer break daily. At first, this could be because they wanted to be socially more attractive, or simply to chat with friends, or they wanted to smoke a bit after some particularly stressful lesson, like some math test with Mrs. Węcławska or whatever. But after repeating such action daily, they probably created a new habit. So we can say that they no longer control this act. It's a kind of natural behavior. Of course, the habit system is deeply rooted in human evolution and got many advantages. It allows our brain to save a lot of energy, could be very useful in emergency when our body must react quickly. And of course, it allows us to be in a kind of multitasking state. So, for example, when I'm driving a car here to school, like almost daily, I can still plan a new lesson or talk to my daughter because my brain is autopiloting me and I don't have to concentrate on the road too much. So doing some sport each Monday morning or reading history books every Friday evening, these are, I hope you agree, positive habits. But there are many very bad habits, potentially disastrous for our life. And here is the thing. Our brain, being a fantastic kind of supercomputer, is at the same time our biggest enemy, because it can't effectively differentiate between a positive and negative habit. So because the brain acts on the trigger, action, reward pattern, and that's it. So like eating sugar is positive in a short term. It makes us feeling better, and we are not hungry anymore. So it's very easy to get used to it. So what can we do? Fortunately, we are not defenseless, and we can use this very much the same brain working pattern, like against it, to put it from these known paths and create, we can exchange the bad behavior possibly with a positive one. But we must do it step by step. It's a kind of a process. So imagine that you spend 1 hour every day just before going to sleep simply lying in a bed and scrolling down the social media on your smartphone. Sounds familiar? Yeah. So that's not a positive habit. You know that abusing social media could really harm people's self-esteem, not to mention that it makes falling asleep much harder for our brain. And so you decided enough is enough. From tomorrow, I will put aside my smartphone and I will go to sleep earlier. No, you won't. It's not that easy unless you will approach this systematically. So the first rule, try to strengthen your mind. Like mindfulness and concentration are the key factors for changing our behaviors. So try to meditate, make some sport, try to train the depth of your breath. All of this, so it will be easier for you to stay here and stay interested in your body and also your environment. This is a good base for any further changes. Now, the second rule, identify the cues. Like something has to trigger a habit. This could be as simple as some kind of noise, a ringtone, or maybe your brain connects the fact that you are lying in a bed with the fact that you are grabbing your smartphone. So if it's possible, simply put your smartphone further away, or simply don't lie in a bed unless you are really ready to go to sleep and turn off the lights. The third rule, replace. Now, this is important. Research shows that replacing a bad behavior with a good one is more effective than simply stopping the bad behavior alone. The new behavior can interfere with the old habit and prevents our brain from going into an autopilot state. So the key to success is to throw off your brain from a balance, preventing it from using this steady patterns, known patterns. So also, this should be made as simple as possible. So instead of taking your smartphone, take a book or a pencil, piece of paper, and try to draw some simple picture before you are going to sleep. Exchange your smartphone with something else, right? Fourth rule, imagination. On any time during the day, try to stop for a moment, close your eye, calm your breath, and try to imagine yourself while doing the thing with which you intend to exchange the bad habit. Like, make this vision as nice and attractive as possible. So the brain could start connecting this with endorphin and generally with a kind of reward. I mean, it's really surprising that imagining yourself while doing some positive things simply increasing the chance that this will indeed happen at some moment, right? And the rule number 5, be curious with your body and your reactions. What I mean that is, even if you are still repeating the negative behavior, do it as consciously as possible and ask yourselves various questions to help in the process. Like, okay, you are scrolling the social media, fine. Why are you doing this? What's your loss and what's your gain from this? Will you recommend this action to any of your friends? how do you feel at this moment? Try to describe your own feelings. So again, we are doing everything so that our brain will work consciously and not on some coded behaviors. Okay? And the scholars that were analyzed the methods of smoke quitting among some addicted people, heavy smokers, they realized that such self-consciousness while they were smoking was really helpful. Like every heavy smoker, if he stops for a moment and think about, will obviously agree that cigarettes generally smell awful, that it irritates their lungs and make their breathing harder, and so on and so on. So again, be as conscious as possible, right? So if you do this, quitting such behavior becomes easier. And last but not least, be persistent. Some scholars says 21 days are needed to create a new habit. Other scholars will insist that it's closer to 66 or even more, but there is a big reward possibly. So the biggest one is that even small success help us to regain the feeling that we are controlling our life again. And this can give us immense self-esteem boost. So yeah, I wish you good luck. Thank you.
It was a spectacularly given performance, some food for thought for us all. It's time for our next speaker of the event. Give it up for Lena Piękosz-Grabowska from class 3D. As we all know, this year she is the co-president of the Student Council. But putting that aside, she is the type of student that tries to take up as many endeavors as she can, while keeping a balance. In her mind, the key component. Today, she is going to talk about the bilingual brain and its effects on our daily life. Lena, the speaker corner stage is yours.
Dear students, distinguished teachers, today I'd like to talk to you about how bilingualism benefits our lives. Because have you ever wondered why is it that your friend seems to focus better than you, or why they seem to multitask better than you? Well, this is where bilingualism enters. And to understand this huge topic, let's quickly look at the definition. So, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, bilingualism is the fact of using or being able to speak two languages. However, to cut a long story short, it all comes down to fluency. And this fluency is the measure of our level of bilingualism. And it differs depending on the age from which we start to learn the language. And based on this, we may differentiate three types of bilinguals. And those three types of bilinguals can be described if I were to tell you this story. So, imagine this. There's this family that just immigrated from Mexico to the United States. And this family consists of 2 children and parents. And so based on this story, we would have three types of bilinguals. First of all, the compound bilingual, and that would be the little girl, because she experiences and learns new things simultaneously using both languages. So the next time she sees a cat, not only does she think cat, but also gato, cat in Spanish. The next type of bilingual would be the coordinate type of bilingual, the teenager. And he has 2 sets of languages. He has English as well as Spanish, between which he has to juggle depending on the environment that he is in. So when this teenager enters his school, he switches from Spanish and jumps into English. And the same happens as he comes back home, however, in a reversed way. Now, Third type, the least fluent type of bilingual would be the subordinate bilinguals. Those have a predominant language, in their case that would be Spanish, and then the rest is filled by, in their case, English. And why am I telling you this? Because if we were to draw a curve, it would look like this, a curve of fluency. The most fluent one would be the compound bilingual, and then the least, the subordinate type of bilingual. And this is crucial because it defines the benefits that we have connected to bilingualism. So the first type of benefit would be the strictly biological one, connected to the structure of our brain. And so our brain is the key component in here. And let's look at our brain. We all know that the right side is responsible for the creative part, and then the left side responsible for the analytical one. However, if we were to jump a little bit deeper, we would look at the neuron, because the neuron is what composes our brain. And in our brain, we have what we call gray matter as well as white matter. And gray matter would be the body of the neuron, so the nucleus, the soma, and dendrite. So this would be gray matter. And then the axons, this elongated part of the neuron, would be white matter. And gray matter is responsible, so the body of the neuron, is responsible for the release of new information. However, the white matter, so the elongated part, the axons, are responsible for the transport of this information. And it has been proved and shown in many researches that in a bilingual brain, the volume of gray matter is greater, and the integrity of white matter is also greater. So if we were to change this into our language, basically, there's more information passing through the brain and at a faster rate. And this happens especially in two specific regions. So as we may see, here we have a graph comparing the monolingual brain to the bilingual brain. And this increase happens in the prefrontal cortex as well as the parietal cortex. And so what are they responsible for? Well, the prefrontal cortex is responsible for memory, focus, as well as problem solving. And the parietal cortex is responsible for the interpretation of our senses. So what we see, what we hear, and what we taste. And naturally, these functions will be enhanced in the bilingual brain. And so the second category of our benefits would be strictly the practical benefits. And if we were to put them in a big category, they would be called cognitive skills as improvement. Cognitive meaning connected with the process of acquiring knowledge. The first example would be, simply put, code switching. Can we go back a bit? Once again? Thank you. And code switching is also known as multitasking. So as you may see, in here we have a column full of numbers, and if the number is white, I would like all of you to subtract a 7, and if the number is orange, I would like you all to add a 7. So first we would have -4, 21, 90, then we would have 51, and then 64. And now I'm going to present you another column. And I would like you all to do the same thing, however, by yourself, in your own head. You don't have to worry, you can do it silently. I'm going to give you guys a minute. And what you guys just did has been done in a research as well. And this research compared both groups, monolinguals and bilinguals. And bilinguals have been reported to have a faster response and also a more accurate response. And you might ask, why? Well, because every day a bilingual has to switch between languages. So when this teenager, if we were to come back to this family that I just talked about, when he enters school, he switches from Spanish to English. When he comes back from school, when he enters home, he switches from English into Spanish. Now, another type of benefit would be what we call inhibitory control, also known as selective reception. So imagine this. I'm going to give you an example. You're sitting in a cafeteria with a friend, and the friend is talking to you. However, it's a noisy cafeteria, it's a Starbucks or something, and you cannot really focus on the person that's in front of you. However, you are a bilingual, and the bilingual is more likely to block out the noises coming from the environment and just focus on the speaker that's in front of them. And why is this possible? Well, it is because a bilingual naturally, subconsciously ignores the other language. So if we were to come back once more to the example of this teenager, when he enters school, his brain subconsciously blocks out Spanish. Now, the third biggest category of benefits would be connected to healthy aging. We also know this as brain protection. And so I'm going to tell you this story, and it's really important because it's a fact. So listen up closely. Up to the age of 25, our brains are 100% normal and they are functioning at a 100% normal rate. However, when we hit the mark, when we hit the 25 years, white matter density decreases. So this leads to cognitive decline. Cognitive decline meaning the loss of brain function. And a lot of research has been done on this topic. And if we were to combine it all, it would present us with this graph. So on this graph, we have two groups, monolinguals and bilinguals. And on this graph, we have the cognitive decline shown. So over time, our cognitive performance decreases, and this is a natural process. And so apart from time, what does really hasten this cognitive decline? Well, dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So to put it in one group, it would be neurodegeneration diseases. And a study has been done by Ellen Bialystok, a researcher in York University of Toronto, where she compared two groups, monolinguals and bilinguals, and both groups had the same stage of Alzheimer's development. However, time has shown that bilinguals have shown Alzheimer's symptoms 5.1 years later after monolinguals. So basically, what we have is this phenomenon called cognitive compensation, and this is the answer right here. So naturally, our brain forms new connections when original pathways are destroyed through processes like Alzheimer's disease, the congestion of beta amyloids. And when a neural pathway is destroyed, our brain creates another bypassing pathway, creating an alternative network. And this is, once again, as I told you, cognitive compensation. And it is natural. However, in a bilingual brain, cognitive compensation is happening a lot more often and at a greater intensity. So bilingualism is actually a natural protection against aging. To conclude, while learning a language, it is the age that matters, since it determines the level of fluency that we receive. And this fluency defines our benefits. And those benefits can range from the simply put biological ones, connected with the structure of our brains, then coming to the daily life benefits, such as the multitasking, this inhibitory control, or lastly, healthy aging, protecting us from our own brain practically to stave off cognitive decline. So bilingualism is a barrier that improves our brain, our lives, and our futures. So we shall hold on to it because it is the key for a good present and an even better future. Thank you.
Much, Lena. It was an amazing performance. I'm sure there are bilingual students in the audience who will find your speech more than inspiring. Now, it is time for our first break from the speeches. In the meantime, please remain in your seats and listen to the performance of Irenka Maj from Class 1A, who is going to play a song from Amelie movie on the piano.
It was lovely to hear you, Irenka. That was a truly breathtaking music feast. Now, on to our next brave speaker. We hope we have a lot of fighters in the audience, because the next presenter will tell you how to fight for a better place to live in. Let's give a round of applause for Agnieszka Czabańska from class 3D.
What I want to talk about today is, well, obviously related to climate change, which is a really important topic, not only for me personally, but I think it should be a really important thing for the most of people, at least. But rather than convincing you how devastating this process is, since I guess you all know that, I would like to tap into our present state of mind and tell you why won't the ecologists be the ones to save our planet, but we will. First off, I want you all to know that the whole saving the planet thing isn't about the nature, but about us. And don't get me wrong, I love the animals, the oceans, and the forests, but we are no longer fighting solely for their well-being, but for our dear lives. Because of the weather anomalies and the drastically high pollution rates, we will eventually run out of possibilities to farm and even live in certain parts of the world. And the increasing amount of places no more safe to live will result in mass migration and even war. In the meantime, the government is doing barely anything to fight this crisis. Minor sustainable businesses are getting awarded with certificates, but there are barely any regulations to force the big companies to become more sustainable. The government is promoting recycling waste, but producers aren't bound to use recycled plastic or paper whatsoever. Well, the government has failed, but there are two other groups on whom all our hope rests. Could you please? Oh, yes. And those are the ecologists and the activists, and neither of them are actually liked by the society, are they? Well, thanks to the ecologists, we got to know about climate change in the first place, and that's great, and they even told us how to cope with this problem. But people don't mind a long-term catastrophe if they have urgent everyday problems to deal with. I mean, the problem of global warming seems a bit abstract for a man that has to pay his bills. The activists, on the other hand, try to convince the people, and the government, of course, to put more effort into fighting climate change. But did spilling tomato soup on a Van Gogh painting or people gluing their hands to the airport runway actually made you care for the planet more? I don't think so. What most of you probably noticed, that the activists' protests, however brave and powerful they might seem, make us see people caring for the planet as simply crazy, and that's definitely not the point. So if such protests aren't the right course of action, what is? Many blame the system for not handling this situation correctly, but they are right. And what if we could hack the system? Well, most of us view the system as something unchangeable and independent from our will. We see the big companies with only money on their minds and politicians fighting over power and all that at the expense of our planet. And moreover, we see the older generations aren't willing to change anything in their everyday lives, which leaves us with a feeling of hopelessness. But what we miss is that the system is made of people. And that means we are going to become the system eventually. Some of us, well, some of you, are going to become company owners, investors, businessmen, politicians. The list goes on, and those are the exact people we tend to put the blame for climate change on. But creating a sustainable world does not mean dedicating a life to ecology. It really doesn't. It just means that eco-friendliness should be something, a factor that you should always consider in any field. For example, as company owners, you can use recycled materials for your product packaging, or choose energy providers that use renewable energy sources, or minimize waste and collaborate with other sustainable businesses. As architects, you can design buildings that are eco-friendly, and as engineers, you can make sure every construction you plan is environmentally optimal. As investors, you'll have the power to invest in sustainable and eco-friendly projects and solutions. And the role of politics is just as big. Imagine if every new politician had a genuine interest in our planet's well-being, we would actually have a chance to become a more eco-friendly country. And those are just some examples of how one can contribute to the environment while pursuing a career in basically anything. But I must tell you, you can either become the system or influence it. And the influencing part is something everybody can do, no matter their age, no matter the field of science they are in. Well, you probably noticed the increasing popularity of second-hand shops. The clothes you buy there are original, fashionable, and definitely much cheaper than store-bought clothes. And what's the most important thing? It's considered generally cool. The fact that it's eco-friendly doesn't play a big role after all. And that's why, in my eyes, it's a perfect example of making sustainability common and popular. Just imagine if not wasting food or choosing the bike over the car, no matter the weather, was just as trendy. We would actually have a chance. And that, I believe this is the solution. We just should make eco-friendliness cool as a society, and my take on it would be to inspire the people around me. Anybody who knows me probably knows that I'm a big advocate of recycling waste, and I do keep my plastic bottles and other things till I find the right container to put them in. And whenever I'm out with friends, I convince them to do the same. And it works. This way, on a 4-day school trip last year, I managed to collect 2 bags of plastic bottles to then toss them in the right bin. But you could do anything else. You can inspire your friends with delicious vegan dishes, or convince your family to save electricity and water, or be that one friend that talks your other friends into taking the bike or bus instead of the car. This thing doesn't have to be big, and you don't have to do everything at once. But if you care about that one thing, the impact on your friends may be very big. And the more certain you are about that one thing, the bigger the group of people you inspire will get. So maybe those tiny actions won't make a spectacular change on their own, but they are simply crucial in changing the society's approach to sustainable living. And the power to change the society lies in nobody else than the society itself. And it's you, the young people, which I will call the future system. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Agnieszka. I don't know how about you, but I certainly feel more educated on the subject of ecology. You open up a whole new perspective of the issue.
We heard the clock strike, signaling us to take a longer break from talking business. But don't worry, we're not leaving you alone. So sit back and enjoy. Agata Krzysztofek from class 3D played December by Piotr Czajkowski on the piano. Then Staś Dąbkowski from class 4A will entertain us with the song No Time to Die by Billie Eilish. And finally, boys from 2B. Adam on the trumpet, Michał on the accordion, and Staś on the electric guitar will play shanties, and you can sing along. Enjoy!
Thank you, guys. Welcome back after the break. Let's focus now. She's the only presenter from second-class students. Talented Zosia Wojtas from Class 2D is our next speaker. Zosia went to a fencing elementary school in which she trained for several years. The foil used to be an enormous part of her life, and she's extremely grateful for it. Let's welcome Zosia onto the stage. Zosia, we are all ears for your speech.
Hello everyone, my name is Zofia, and today I'm going to talk about a very close topic of mine, which is fencing. Szymon Głuszak is here to help me do so. Many of you probably don't even know what fencing is, so let me start with the definition. Fencing is a combat sport that features sword fighting. There are 3 disciplines, épée, saber, and foil. There are so many differences between them, the fencer usually trains only one. A fencing bout takes place on a piste, which is 14 meters long and 1.5 in width. There are certain points on a strip that are important. For example, a center line, which is perfectly in the middle, 2 on-guard lines, warning lines, and end lines, that if fencer crosses, the opponent scores a point. Also, if fencers step within 2 feet of the strip, he has to move 1 meter back, which can result in them crossing the end line. There is a certain machine that is assigned to a piste. Fencers are connected through many wires to a scoring apparatus, on which there are certain lights. A colorful light lights up when the touch was on target. Then the bout stops, and they continue the bout from the on-guard lines. 1 and 2 fencers in that situation score a point. If the touch was off target, the white light comes up, and the score does not change. They continue the bout from the place they stopped. Because like in every other sport, a good sportsmanship must be kept, there are certain penalties. A yellow card, which is only warning, but no further action taken. A red card, which is not only a warning, but also a point for their arrival. And a black card that can be given to everyone else, not only to the participants. That means the person is banned from the competition. As you can imagine, fencing is a really dangerous sport. So fencers have a really thick uniform that consists of many layers. White socks, breeches, usually for women breast protection, plastron, jacket, and lame, which is electric jacket, glove, mask, and of course a weapon. Here is a look of 3 different fencers. As you may see, they are a little bit different. Foil and saber have a specific claim. The gray part is the target. On épée, there is no specific claim because the entire body is the target. Épée. Épée is more than 1 meter long and is the heaviest weapon because it weighs up to 770 grams. As you can imagine, it is really heavy if you hold it for a long time. Target. Target is the entire body, and what's specific about épée is that they are double hit allowed, which means that not only one person at a time can score a point. There is one rule. The touches must occur within 40 milliseconds of each other. Here's a part of the bout from the Olympic Games. Saber. Saber is the shortest weapon because it's less than 1 meter long and it weighs up to 500 grams. The target is waist and up, and there are rules of the right way, which means that only one person at a time can score a point. Here's also part of the bout. Foil. Foil is more than 1 meter long and it weighs up to 500 grams. The target is the smallest because it's only torso. And there are also rules of the right way, but they are slightly different from the saber ones. Because I train foil, I think it is the most important. It is the most important and the most interesting, but that's just my opinion. The Polish fencing icon, Zosia Wojtas. She is the most popular foil fencer in Poland because she has not only won a silver teams medal on the Olympic Games, but also a bronze medal individual. She has several other medals from other competitions. And because she went to the same elementary school as Szymon and I, we both know her personally, and we can assure you that she is not only extremely talented, but also nice, smart, and extremely gorgeous. That's all for today, and thank you for your attention.
Such passion is truly admirable. That was brilliant. Thank you, Zosia.
Now let's listen to the next speech of the day. Our next performer, Jakub Juszczyński from class 3C, an economics and physics enthusiast, will say a few words about the power of nuclear energy. Kuba, the stage is yours.
Hello, hello. Oh. We're on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm guessing most of you are aware of the greenhouse gas emissions, which pollute the air we breathe, being a serious environmental issue. Well, 3/4 of those gases comes from energy supply sector, which is just huge. And although this data is from 2016, I can assure you things haven't changed much since. As you can see here, China's emissions matter much more among others because its economy is expanding like no other, and its energy comes from fossil fuel power plants in 70%. Focusing on nuclear energy, a single gram of uranium contains the same amount of energy as 24 cubic meters of natural gas, forgive for the error on the presentation here, 11 kilograms of oil, or 167 kilograms of coal, which is just crazy. Furthermore, fission, the process of splitting uranium atoms to generate heat, thereby energy, doesn't release any greenhouse gases itself. The clouds you see billowing out of the reactors are nothing but water vapor. Let me introduce you to all of the radioactive nuclear waste from 5 power plants running for 45 years and generating almost half of all Switzerland's energy. Pretty convenient, right? In comparison to coal, it doesn't really have any negative impact on the environment, except when there's a spill, improper waste management, or fuel transportation involved. Which brings us to the main disadvantage of nuclear reactors. Many people are scared of the radiation, but actually, the maximum permitted leakage for a nuclear power plant is equivalent to eating 7 bananas per day. In other words, it's completely harmless. It's completely harmless. Conversely to coal plants, which emit 100 times more radiation into the atmosphere. Crazy luck. During Chernobyl, there were 47 deaths caused by the explosion and 4,000 estimated cancer deaths later. This whole madness spread worldwide was caused only by a very poorly managed experiment on the reactor, which wasn't nearly as safe as it would be now, after 38 more years of constant improvement. Disaster also struck at Fukushima power plant, which was flooded by a tsunami. Despite a horrible position causing a meltdown, nobody was scared by the radiation except a single worker. Throughout the whole history of nuclear power plants, there were a dozen or so deaths apart from the ones mentioned here, and that's all. Unlike fossil fuel plants, incessantly making things worse. On the left here is the death rate from air pollution and accidents per 1 terawatt hour, which is the annual electricity consumption of 150,000 people in Europe. And as you can clearly see right here, nuclear energy is 800 times less fatal in production than coal. And stands even better than wind itself, because wind turbines, unfortunately, sometimes happen to be the last thing some of their technicians see. And on the right are greenhouse gas emissions per 1 gigawatt hour, equivalent to 150 Europeans per year, including also mining, transportation, and maintenance emissions. Here, nuclear creates almost 300 times less pollution than coal. Knowing those things, I don't think it's reasonable to be afraid of building new nuclear power plants, especially in a calm climate like ours. And it's a real shame that we still haven't lived to see a completed reactor in Poland, beginning from the one failed in Żarnowiec 35 years ago, which was held back by people's outrage after Chernobyl's disaster, as well as the lack of money to finish off the investment. So yeah, uranium is great. Not only is it more effective, therefore cheaper in the long run, despite higher construction costs, humanity could achieve a lot of the realistic pollution goals very rapidly, solely by transferring to it. The problem is that even if the whole world unites, there will never be enough uranium loads to sustain that many plants. As of now, there are 440 operating plants across the globe, another 60 are under construction, and further 110 are planned. Germany, though, decided to close down all of their nuclear power plants a couple of years ago due to anxiety, but are now reopening them once again to prevent a national energetical crisis. In history of uranium price, there were 2 booms and 2 busts. The first boom, when reactors were very trendy in the 70s and pumped the demand, until the reactor at 3 Mile Island released radioactive gases and people got too scared to invest. And Chernobyl disaster just extended the drop. Overproduction kept the price very low until Cigar Lake, the largest reserve of high-grade uranium at the time, was flooded, and the tighter supply, combined with planned global nuclear constructions, caused price skyrocketing, but not for long, because more uranium was brought to the market shortly after. And Fukushima. We are now experiencing the third boom, caused once again by cut production and new reactors. But this time, it looks like there won't be enough uranium for the next contracting cycle. Higher prices will beef the exploitation of more inaccessible loads up, but they won't be able to supply the growth of this market for much longer. Therefore, I think this time another accident, which is much less likely to happen, won't alter the raising prices of uranium that much. That's all I've got to say. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.
Thanks, Kuba. This was definitely an eye-opener. Nuclear energy is the future for us all. I'm sure of that.
We have reached our final music break, but don't go anywhere, relax in your seats and enjoy the performance given to us by Karolina Schroeder from Class 1A on the piano, who will perform City of Stars by Ryan Gosling.
Wow, that was really something. Thank you so much. And now it's time for Alicja Seliga from class 3B, who is interested in just about everything, from astrophysics and aviation to history and the arts, and hopes to ignite the same enthusiasm in others. The Speaker Corner audience welcomes you onto the stage.
Hello everyone. Today I am here to tell you about a phenomenon known as Cherenkov radiation. But hang on, I've only got 7 minutes. That means I've really got to speed up. So let's accelerate to light speed and then some more. Let's take a shortcut. But hang on, this isn't Star Wars, right? It's impossible to travel faster than light. So what is the problem? Well, we have to restate some basic facts. First of all, as we know, the speed of light is around 300,000 kilometers per second in a vacuum. And according to all modern laws of physics, no physical or energetic particle can break that limit. But there's an important observation to be made here. Did you catch it when I said that the maximum speed of light, the so-called C constant, can be achieved in a vacuum? Well, you have to ask yourself, would light travel as fast through matter, through something that isn't empty space? Well, the answer is no, as demonstrated by this simple experiment here. If you take a careful look at the image, you can see that the lower half of the pencil has been distorted and appears a bit bigger and shifted in comparison to the upper part. Why is that so? Well, water as a medium has a different optical density than that of air, and the electromagnetic waves or light that travel through that water do so slower than they would do in air. So the resulting image is distorted. And it's a helpful analogy to think of electromagnetic waves as something similar to sound, because sound too travels at different speeds through different mediums. So if light can be slowed down, this is a particle. Its speed is so immense that it's traveling through a medium faster than light would be traveling through that medium. As we can see, light is clearly lagging behind. And, well, how is that possible? So let's repeat what I just said, that light or electromagnetic waves slow down in a material medium. And, for example, that speed is in water around 75% of the upper limit that nothing can break. But since light only has about 3/4 of its original speed, we can, for example, accelerate a particle to 80% of that speed. And even though it's less than the speed of light in a vacuum, it's still more than the speed of light in that specific medium. And so, without breaking any known laws of physics, we've gone superluminal. And what happens then? Well, again, I'm going to use this very helpful analogy of comparing light to sound. So, imagine a supersonic fighter jet. For example, like this FA-18 Hornet here. What happens when it breaks the sound barrier? Well, it creates a conical shockwave that trails behind it, and luckily for us, it's very obviously visible in photographs because of the moisture that condensates there. Well, in the case of a particle traveling at superluminal speeds, we don't hear a loud bang as we would with a fighter jet, but we see this. And, well, what is going on here? So, we have to restate some facts again. So what we saw in those two pictures were the reservoirs of water used to cool nuclear reactors. And you may have noticed the eerie blue glow that surrounded those reactors. Well, where does it come from? Spoiler, it's not artificial, and it is in fact spontaneously generated in the presence of radioactive materials. What is going on? Well, let's find some backstory. So we've known about this effect for quite a while. In fact, in 1910, our compatriot Maria Skłodowska-Curie observed a similar blue glow when working with radium and polonium, but she didn't investigate its source. And so the scientific community had to wait another 24 years until 1934, when Soviet scientist Pavel Cherenkov, with his colleagues Ilya Frank and Igor Tam, described this radiation that they detected while observing uranium. So, what is this radiation? So, Cherenkov radiation occurs when a charged particle, for example, an alpha particle or an electron or a proton, travels through a dielectric medium at a speed higher than the phase velocity of light in that medium. So, the immense speed of that particle, combined with its electric charge, causes the atoms in the way of that particle to become polarized. And due to quantum physics, the energy they have must be emitted quickly. So they return to their basic state, emitting a photon. And what is a photon? Well, to us, it's just light. So there's a simple diagram here that is going to visualize what happens when a particle travels through a material medium at superluminal speed. So, as we can see, just like in the case of the fighter jet, a conical shockwave appears behind that particle, and instead of sound as it would be in a fighter jet, this is light, and that's what we call Cherenkov's light. There's also a little math here for us nerds. So, as we can see, the angle of the created cone depends both on the speed of the particle and the medium-specific refraction coefficient, that is to say, how fast the particle is traveling and what it is traveling through. So, we can also see that from this very simple formula, this effect simply doesn't occur at speeds lower than the phase velocity of light in a medium. And I have to return for a second to what we saw with the nuclear reactors. Come on. Sorry. I don't think, okay. So, oh, come on. Not sure why. Okay, so I don't know why the presentation isn't, why the slides aren't in the right order, but what I wanted to say is that the blue glow, specifically in the case of nuclear reactors, is is caused by the alpha particles created during alpha decay, or that is to say, nuclear decay. Are there any practical uses of Cherenkov's radiation? Well, fortunately for us, come on. I don't know. Fortunately for us, next one. Okay, so fortunately for us, this isn't just pure science talk, because there are quite a few practical applications of Cherenkov radiation. First of all, as I've mentioned before, the Cherenkov's light is generated in nuclear reactors, so by observing it, we can monitor the activity of said nuclear reactors and also check for nuclear waste, because even a small amount of, for example, uranium is going to emit enough particles via fission to cause this light. And second of all, another field where comes in useful is astrophysics, because certain events in our universe emit particles with energies high enough to cause a similar effect. For example, supernovas or neutrinos emitted in events connected with black holes or quasars. So those events can be detected in telescope, like these two magic telescopes on the Canary Islands here, or the telescope I showed earlier. Oh, come on. Możecie przewinąć tak 3 slajdy do tyłu. Okay, so So this telescope here is the Super Kamiokande telescope in Japan, which uses the effects of Cherenkov radiation to detect high-energy particles such as neutrinos. And the last thing we use Cherenkov radiation for is medical imaging, because during radiotherapy used for cancer treatment, we use radioactive isotopes, which also create those alpha particles that create a visible effect in, for example, the patient's body. And using sufficiently sensitive detectors, we can check for Cherenkov's radiation inside the body of a patient, and therefore monitor the spread and location of nuclear isotopes. So from me, that is everything. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, and I hope you learned something interesting.
It must be amazing to have your mind. I believe that the only one thing that moves faster than the speed of light are your thoughts.
And last, but definitely not least, we want to introduce to you Stanisław Krajewski from class 3E. Some people say he's a genius, others claim he's a madman. A young Polish entrepreneur listed as one of the most influential Poles of all time, but not by Forbes, but by Frogs magazine. A man running many charities and definitely not evading paying taxes this way. Staś, we kindly welcome you onto the stage.
Are we live? We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. It's lovely to see you here. So, let us begin. Last decade was a decade of immense technological advancements and innovation. And we, as Mugging LLC, are proud to be in the spot to say we are among many to push it forward. And today, I'm here in front of you all to present what we have achieved. But a little backstory first. Oh, okay. In early 2000s, introduction of iPhone changed how we perceive phones by removing keyboard from them. But nothing much has changed since then, did it? Until recently, because we at Mugging LLC thought to ourselves, why do even we need touchscreens? So we simply removed it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you a brand new product called New Glasses, because those bastards from marketing went on strike. Thank you so much. These glasses will literally change how we see the world. we've made them as such they will be go-to device for work and entertainment. No longer you will just listen to music. You will be able to see it. You will be able to play games set in the real world. Doesn't that feel exciting to you? But we didn't stop there, because as a company, we value one thing the most, and it is people, as you all know. As such, we've developed a new AI companion called Syria. With thousands of customization options, she will be always there to back you up and fulfill your deepest fantasies if you ever feel lonely, without a need with those hard human interactions. But even more, because, ladies and gentlemen, with one simple voice command, you can solve such issues as homelessness crisis. Doesn't that make you feel noble? I know it does for me. Just look how good Skid Row will look this time of the year. However, today we are not just introducing those glasses, because we as a company pledge to reduce our carbon footprint by whopping 50 per mile, with introduction of manual skill improvement program. Doesn't that sound great? Well, The Guardian called it a just child labor, but we don't call it. And we know that you won't care either, because this is what our analysis showed. Even more, we've been implementing this program successfully for years in Asia and Africa, and you still buy our products, which makes us really proud. So, ladies and gentlemen, we may face many issues today, but this brand new product seeks to solve many of them, from homelessness to such big issues as climate change, just for a really small price, because we at Mugging LLC believe that life-changing technology shouldn't really be that expensive. So the prices start at just $2,500, as we all know. It's probably all affordable, and you will still buy it. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you will have a great rest of the day, and see you through those glasses soon, because we've implemented cameras. Anyway, I said too much. Have a lovely evening, and thank you.
Thanks, Staś. That was Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg all in one. Ladies and gentlemen, the hour's up on us. Get your phones ready, since we are about to vote for the winning speech of the day. Only one contestant can stand on the podium of the public vote, so choose carefully.
Please scan the QR code that is shown on the screen, or click the link sent to your class group chat in order to vote. Good luck.
it is the moment we all been waiting for, the moment of truth. We are proud to present the result of our competition, starting with the Audience Award. The winner is Jakub Juszczyński.
Guys, let's wrap it up and let's ask all the speakers onto the stage. Come on, everybody. Yes? Okay. Right, guys, these are all winners. That's it. Okay, so all of them get rewards. These are all winners. Give them a big round of applause. Okay. Guys, the jury's vote is that the winner of Speakers Corner 2024 is Lena.